up. My topic for my speech is why can't people with prior drug offenses collect the American tax credit? Excuse me. My first topic for this speech really hits home for me and a lot of others as well. My speech will revolve around a subject that for me is all too real. I just recently found out while doing my taxes for the year of 2015 that I do not qualify for my American Opportunity Tax Credit. Confused, I asked my taxman why. He replies, "You don't qualify because I have a felony." I was so mad and determined to find out a way around this problem that I did some digging and found out a lot of great information that I must say was very helpful to me. I questioned my taxman again with what I found out, and it got him to start thinking. So he has to go and do some research now before amending my taxes. Today I will be discussing the problem of why college students receiving financial aid cannot file for the AOTC if they have a prior drug offense, and what are some of the solutions it can be to solve this problem. First, let me start with the major problem with this tax credit. According to most articles that I could find by the IRS, the American Opportunity Tax Credit says you cannot qualify for the tax credit if you have had a previous drug offense or any kind there at any time on your record. Why can't people with prior drug offenses collect the child or the college tax credit? Well, my friends, let me tell you that obviously this law was intended to stop drug use. By President George W. Bush, he put into a new tax law in effect in 2007 for the intense purpose of trying to stop all drug use everywhere, but mainly the law affects college students. I don't think this law was intended to stop us from collecting what is rightfully ours, but it was in place to effected to try and detour students away from drug use. According to P. Smith, some 15 to 20 million people have been arrested on drug charges and subjected to the tender mercies of the criminal justice system in the past 2 decades. Everyone thought, even though after this law was in place, drug abuse did not stop in the city. All this law did was none of what it was actually intended to do, and that is to stop drug use everywhere. As of 2009, this has become more of a 3 strikes rule, if you will. There are many problems with this law. I would have to start by saying you cannot stop all drug use everywhere by taking something away from one set of people. This law stops a lot of hardworking people like myself from receiving a much needed $1,000 in their pocket at the end of the school year. Even though you can only collect this tax credit for 4 years, it's like a bonus for going back to school, turning your life around, and doing something good and positive in your life. It makes you feel rewarded for your work in progress. I don't think people should keep getting penalized for their past when we've already paid for it. If you look at it from my point of view, it's simple. I did some crazy things in my past, and I was in very serious trouble. I owned up to it and did my jail time for my punishment. It should be over, right? But it's not. For people with felonies, they fall into a double jeopardy category, which is also legal and a law by itself. We continually get judged by everyone for the rest of our lives, and we don't just stop there. It affects our employment, our schooling, housing, welfare, and not to mention a few others. I thought the big problem was progress, not prosecution. What I decided to do was to do a little more research on my own and find some answers to the big question: why can't people with drug offenses collect the college tax credit? There are a lot of differences, but more reasonable solutions to the problem than what was right in place now. If the people in charge would just look at the laws that are affecting them before they actually put them into effect, we wouldn't have the problems and double standards we have now. My first solution would be to quit putting everyone in the same category like the government likes to do. We are not all the same. We do not all get the same charges on our record, even though one might be caught with the same thing. Therefore, you should not lump all the people into one single category, no matter what it involves. My second solution should be that anyone that has been changed in their life and has continuously tried to do better, they should have some sort of room to breathe. They do not deserve to be treated like someone who has the same convictions and that have done absolutely nothing to improve their life or make it better. The third solution that seems fair to me, as long as my background is over a certain number of years old, that I think they shouldn't be looking at it. It says, let's see, they shouldn't be looking at it as long as I have been progressing towards a better way of living and shown that my past is my past and that I have changed. For my last solution, the most reliable in its reality for me, makes this law unforgivable to me. If you are already enrolled in college and you have already had your background checks to see if you qualified and which grants, I obviously have passed, or I would not be giving this speech now. So my philosophy on the situation is, if my background passes and I'm getting funding, and I'm getting the funding that I'm being charged for, then I should also be entitled to the tax credit that I paid into. For my conclusion, I would like to leave you with one question. What do you think about the AOTC law in regard to it being fair to everyone? Should this law be changed or not? I have given you information on both sides of the story, and now I leave it up to you to wise up and see that people with drug offenses are just like everybody else, and what we have done in our past. If we have already paid for it by going to jail or whatever it is we had to complete, this, my friends, is what we call double jeopardy. I ask you again, why can't people with drug offenses collect a college tax credit? Put yourself in my shoes. When you go from messing up and going to a jail a few times to getting a legal job, your own place, having a baby, and going back to school. That's a dramatic change. And then finding that you cannot have what you are entitled to because of mistakes that you have made in the past when I was younger. If you could take the achievement away from me, you or someone else, and then side with the government. If you couldn't strip our goals and dreams away, then side with me. The choice is up to you. And I don't like these things here because I can't see to